Welcome to Pick Me Up, I'm Scared, the podcast. Today I'm your host, Kenna.
And I'm your co-host, Madeline.
Ooh.
We're switching it up.
We're being different.
Yes, we're giving you varied and diverse content.
All right, to start off, I'm asking you some questions.
Okay.
Some trivia, if you will.
I'm ready.
This is some Los Angeles trivia. What does the Los Angeles School District, what do they not possess?
Oh.
A, grenade launcher. B, tank.
Oh my God,
C,
no.
body armor. D, a trove of rifles.
What? They have 3 out of the 4 of these things?
Yes.
I'm gonna go grenade launcher.
Okay, this is technically you are correct.
Okay.
However, at one point they did possess all of them.
Oh my God.
And technically the tank is a mine-resistant, ambush-protected armored vehicle, but I think you and I would call it
I think it's
a fucking tank.
Oh my God.
Sadly, the LAUSD police had to return the grenade launcher, but they kept the armored vehicle / tank.
Wow.
And the body armors and guns. This is according to a 2014 LA Times article entitled, quote, LA school police will return grenade launchers but keep rifles and armored vehicle by Stephanie Caesar.
Wow. The grenade launcher in schools is really just not something I'd previously considered as an option, I guess. I didn't know we could do that.
Wow.
Right?
Teachers want to teach, I guess.
I mean, I remember my aunt growing up, one time one of her teachers had a meltdown and just started throwing chairs at the children and they had to hide inside of like the cabinet. Yeah. Oh. So I guess I'm glad they didn't have the grenade launcher in that situation.
Yes. I mean, I guess it's the school police, but still, I mean, they're like 6-year-olds.
Yeah, we had police on campus at our school, and all they did was, like, get showy for people when they mouthed off about dress code. So I'm not sure how a grenade launcher would have helped with a dress code violation.
I may have mentioned this before, but at my school, we did have a rifle range under the school for the ROTC. So there were, weirdly, rifles
at your school. Yeah.
Which seems really...
sketchy.
Yes.
It's a little sketchy.
Seems a little sketch.
That's a little sketchy.
Fucking 90s, 2000s Colorado for you, I guess.
I mean, okay, so like I was in high school from 2000 to 2003 in Fresno, and it was like a gang school for sure. Like there were a lot of gang fights. But even at my school during that time, I cannot imagine the utility or use of a tank or grenade launcher.
Maybe there's something we don't know.
There's something we don't know. Okay.
But you may wonder what this has to do with the theme of this episode, which is the Olympics.
Yes. Okay. I'm wondering.
I think we've talked about this before, but did you know that the Los Angeles Police Department did not have tanks until the 1984 Olympics? And I will talk about that later.
Okay.
And, you know, although the Olympics may not have been the direct line to tanks in school, I mean, like the only reason we could talk about like 9/11, the military-industrial you know, the police getting old military equipment,
yes.
you know, police unions, all that stuff. But it is interesting that is the first example in recent history of basically LAPD having a tank and acting like an army occupying LA. And
so the military gives to the LAPD and the LAPD gives to the LA school district. LASD. That's the past. And then the LASD has to find someone that they're going to give all their used tanks to.
Oh my gosh. It's just this cycle.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be like a chef's union or something.
Maybe they'll start giving them to preschools.
Maybe. That'd be fun.
Little tiny tanks.
Yeah.
But basically, it's interesting to see how sports, and particularly the Olympics, are kind of intertwined with the interests of like the power elite and the military-industrial complex. So, but first, what are your memories of the Olympics as a kid?
Oh, okay. So before we get into the ways in which the world is definitely fucked up, if I try to remember my idyllic, purest young moments of the Olympics. All right, so I remember the Olympics would come on and it was always really boring and I never wanted to watch it. I remember there were Winter Olympics and Summer Olympics and I did not care about any of them. I remember the movie Cool Runnings came out.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, maybe I care about Olympic luge. And then I tried to watch it one day and got like 3 minutes in and was like, Dad, this is boring. Can we please just put on The Simpsons? I hate this. So I remember always having a strong disinterest for anything Olympics that bordered on disdain. So how about you, though?
I just remember gymnastics and ice skating. That's the only things I really remember. I feel like when I was a kid, very, very small. Like, so I think there was like maybe one of the early, 80s, maybe even the 80s Olympics being very, very small.
Yeah.
And watching them. And it was like early 90s or like 90s when I was a kid, it was like USA gymnastics, like red, white, and blue uniforms done by like Ralph Lauren. It's just like.
Actually, I am remembering now that as a kid in the late 80s or maybe like 1991, I had the Mary Lou Retton biography, and she was like an Olympic gymnast. And when you said that, I just remembered the cover with her in her like red, white, and blue spandex. And I read this book because I got it for free from like a school book drive. I read it like 100 times, but I don't know who Mary Lou Retton is. I just know she was a gymnast. I never saw her.
I feel like it was very like, oh, that terrible song, Proud to Be an American.
Yes.
Like it was just like that moment of time in the USA in the 90s where people like non-ironically chanted USA, USA.
Yeah. I agree. I remember a lot of patriotism, but I have always been too weird for sport. So it did not affect me.
I was a little too weird for sport too, but I do just remember it being a big deal.
It was a big deal.
It was a very big deal.
100% a big deal.
Huge.
Yes.
What do you know about the history of the Olympics?
Literally nothing. Like if I had to guess how the Olympics started, it'd be like, in Rome, a man once ran till his shoes fell off and his ankles bled and then he died. Like that to me would be the Olympic origin story. Something about, I feel like it's Greco-Roman in some capacity, but I don't know why or if that's true.
It is from Greece, and I like that story better.
Yeah.
I like the folksiness of it.
Thank you. Just came up with that.
The modern Olympics are based on the ancient Olympic Games that started in Greece around 776 BC to honor the god Zeus. And the Olympics, as far back as it goes, was not, unfortunately, about love of the game.
Oh, okay.
Sports for sport's sake. It was really about political and military maneuvering. And basically it was for the ruling class at the time, because there were many competing city-states within Greece to kind of maintain their status, in society. According to a quick Wikipedia search, quote, "The games became a political tool used by city-states to assert dominance over their rivals. Politicians would announce political alliances at the games, and in times of war, priests would offer sacrifices to the gods of victory. The games were also used to help spread Hellenistic culture throughout the Mediterranean."
Interesting.
So it really has always been about, nationalism, political, militaristic maneuvering, rather than just like, we love seeing people doing chariot races.
Yes. You know what I'm thinking right now is that this is pretty dark, but the Olympics used to serve the same function that like the United States using nuclear weapons has served in modern history, which is to scare other people into not attacking us, right?
Or to be like, we're the best. Don't you want to be American?
Oh yeah, I could see. Okay, so this idea is not completely foreign to me because definitely we've carried that concept through to current history.
Oh, for sure. And also what has been carried through to current history is just corruption.
Yes.
Even back in the 700s BC, it was rife with political intrigue and corruption. Also from Wikipedia, a fun quote. For example, Parnasius, a Greek historian, explains the situation of the athlete Sotades. I'm pronouncing all of this
That's
wrong.
okay.
So Sotades, the 99th festival, was victorious in the long race and proclaimed a Cretan, as in fact he was. But at the next festival, he made himself an Ephesian, being bribed to do so by the Ephesian people. For this act, he was banished by the Cretans.
Wow.
So
okay.
there was already lots of bribery, lots of corruption, lots of cheating.
Yep.
Yeah. Which seems funny for us now, but to me, it just seems like it might not be so haha innocuous, because that corruption that bleeds over until today has very real consequences for us as a society, especially if rich people are using the games to just maintain the status quo, to make money off new buildings, and yet we still don't have dental insurance. Right. We can have the long jump, but no teeth for you.
Yes.
So they going back to the history, after a long break, they were kind of revived in the 17th century in Britain. And there were some Olympic style games in Britain starting in the 1600s, and some in France in the 1700s. And then in the 1800s, some Olympic style events were scattered around Britain, Stockholm, and Greece. But the modern day Olympics as we know it, for a permanent game was kind of revived during the Greek War of Independence from the Ottoman Empire in 1821.
Whoa, so it's been kind of since then going?
Kind of. So basically, I'm kind of paraphrasing from there's so much Olympic history out there.
Right.
I'm sure there are books and books written about it, but basically, after the revival, they started doing games in Greece. They revived the Panathenaic Stadium to hold the games in Athens. Basically, it was kind of rich, bored, aristocratic people wanting to revive the sport.
Yes.
It seemed kind of like a bored rich people thing to do. And some some nationalistic things, some that mixed all together. But it looks like the first, games under the auspices of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, was in Athens in 1896. There's a lot of boring historical stuff about the games.
Now that you say 1896, I think I am remembering the 100-year century Olympic anniversary or something.
Oh yeah, 1996, because it was Atlanta. I remember that. Yeah. So
okay, this is making sense to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of Olympic history to cover between then, the past, and the present. I found an interesting book on the subject called Power Games, A Political History of the Olympics by Jules Boykoff. He has a lot of really insightful stuff. To me, one of the most interesting things was they used to give medal for feats of artistic prowess in the early days of the modern Olympics. Quote, a pentathlon of the muses ran astride the athletic events, consisting of competition in architecture, literature, music, painting, and sculpture. The idea was to capture the spirit of the Greeks, who in the ancient Olympics blended physical with artistic aptitude to honor the gods.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of interesting.
It's funny to me, it's why isn't it in the Olympics now? An architecture competition?
I mean, yeah, I feel like a total, I'm outing myself as a total nerd, but I'm I would watch an architecture competition in the Olympics. That sounds lovely. But I guess it doesn't make good TV.
Or they would make it to instead of being we're seeing who can write an amazing poem about world peace, or you have 60 seconds to write a poem. It's basically Top Chef for poetry.
I would watch that. I would watch Top Chef for poetry. Also, that's how we got Frankenstein.
Oh.
Right? Mary Shelley, overnight, she and all her friends were at their manor in the country, and she was let's have a game. And they were who can write the scariest story overnight by tomorrow morning? So 60-second Top Chef poetry could yield some great works of American fiction. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. It's so interesting. And this book has some pretty interesting stuff in it. The Olympics just has a long history of using it for military reasons, nationalist reasons. There's just there's a really fucked up history of the Olympics being used for terrible propaganda reasons, like, and it's, you know, it's basically for most of the time been run by like rich guys doing kind of like fucked up rich guy shit. Like, it's really telling to me when the president of the IOC from 1952 to 1972 gives us this doozy of a fucked up quote.
Okay.
It's like, Social Security and other socialist measures give support to the lazy, the worthless, and the shiftless.
Oh.
This is the president of the society thus destroys itself by interfering with nature's laws, which eliminates those who are unwilling to take care of themselves. It is the same with medication, which extends the life of the unhealthy and eventually destroys virile society. We are doing the same with our tax laws, where we penalize the successful and handicap the strong and intelligent.
See, he's just like a eugenicist.
Oh, for sure. He's fucked up. He was a fan of dictators.
Whoa, that quote is heavy.
Yeah, that's why it's like the people. It's not just like sports games. Like, it, to me, like, if the leader espouses casually this type of fucked up shit, like, it's not maybe by accident.
No, I that quote alone really like not reshapes. I mean, I never had it in good light, but you know, you're like, okay, so this guy thinks the weak should die, and then he's in charge of a whole event where we see how strong people can get. Like, it's all very eugenics-y. It's just with that one quote. So fast.
So it's like, you know, there is one thing where it's like, oh, fun, let's play a game, and then they're like, what are you, like, we're just like, wow, this is about something bigger than just like watching some sports.
Yeah, this guy's one step away from let's make all the winners breed to create a master race.
Yes.
Like, this is gnarly.
Oh my gosh. Like, when I say that there are like, there's like an entire book on like basically like how fucked up the Olympics are, like in its history. Like, it's, but,
okay, so we hate this guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of
bad shit. There's more bad shit.
Yeah, we've heard about abolishing ICE, the police, you know, prisons, but maybe the Olympics should be abolished as well in their current form. Yeah. And specifically starting with the upcoming Olympics in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff online about the Olympics. I found a lot of really good information from the group No Olympics, which is No Olympics 10.
Okay.
So this may be familiar to many of you who have seen like infographics and stuff. But they have like a lot of really good like factual information on like, wow, the Olympics, fucked up idea for LA 2028 maybe. What do you think the Olympics will be like in LA as someone who lives in LA?
Okay, so my first thought is, where will it go? Because we have that R1 zoning everywhere, which means that like we don't have urban density the way other major metropolitan areas do. We have a lot of single family homes, and a lot of single family homes means that everything's spread out over a large area, which means we have a lot of traffic, obviously, and you have to travel pretty far to get from one place to another for the average person. So first of all, I just can't imagine spatially where there's room to put the Olympics here, because there's, like I said, not a lot of urban density. So there's a lot of competition already over land. Like, we don't have just available land hanging out places that's not being used, you know? So that's the first one. The second one is, what will it do to traffic, obviously, because already everything's so congested with people
so bad
trying to get from one place to the other. So I think that all of my ideas about it, I'm just like, how? Logistically, where? Yeah, I'm in my head right now, like I have an overhead map going in my brain of Los Angeles. And
I feel like it's going to be like,
I'm like, Griffith Park? Are they going to do Olympics in Griffith Park?
There are some stadiums and places that are still left over from 84.
Okay.
However, that still doesn't mean that it's not going to, you know, cause traffic and displacement and all this other stuff. Basically, No Olympics has a really good FAQ section, and I'm kind of paraphrasing like all the reasons like why it should not be in LA. I have like a couple points.
Okay.
The first one is mainly only rich and powerful people run it. No community organizations are represented in the Olympic bid committee. Right now it's like Eric Garcetti, politicians, executive, and athletes. So basically none of us, like, people who live in LA who are just normal residents really have any say. And we don't even know who's in charge of the 2028 planning, because Eric Garcetti won't be around in 2028 due to term limits. So
right, that's our mayor for anyone not
there's,
from LA. We hate him.
Yeah, there's a bunch of corruption. There was an article about how Casey Wasserman's family donated to David Ryu that has something to do with the vote, and there's just like notorious corruption. Like, you can read articles about corruption during the Salt Lake City Olympics. So it's like there's just it's very opaque.
So, okay, so basically the Olympics people come into a city and they bribe all of the politicians to be like, you want the Olympics, you love the Olympics, let the Olympics happen here. And then the politicians are like, I took your money. Yes, I love the Olympics, right? That's what it seems
like to me. Yeah,
that's what's going on.
All right, shoot. People think like, oh, it's great for LA, it'll create jobs. There is no reason to believe that it will create any sustainable jobs.
Also, we don't really have, I mean, COVID obviously has raised our unemployment rate, but I think the more pressing social issue in Los Angeles is we need housing.
Yes. So basically, it worsens the housing crisis. This is a quote from them. Since the primary cause of homelessness in Los Angeles is the lack of affordable housing, the Olympics will likely create a huge spike in displacement and homelessness, accelerating gentrification and real estate speculation. So even if there are some stadiums that are already built, it's still, they have to refurbish them. They're going to displace people, renting Airbnbs, like, it's going to cause displacement or housing prices to increase almost certainly. In Rio de Janeiro, I read an estimate that an estimated 77,000 people were displaced during that Olympics. And in Tokyo, there was an article in The Nations about Olympics displacement, where there were a few elder adults who have been displaced twice by the Olympics in their lifetimes to make,
Whoa.
So even if it's like, to me, it's like, even if it's like exacerbating the housing crisis in LA, worldwide it exacerbates the housing crisis.
Also, okay, this makes me think of, if we have to build any stadiums, like Los Angeles already has like a rich legacy of kicking like indigenous people. Well, obviously the whole United States has a history of kicking indigenous people out of their homes, which is fucked up and terrifying. That's what the United States is. But specifically where like Dodger Stadium was built.
Oh, it's so messed up.
There were all of those people who had lived there for centuries, and they were kicked out of their homes. They were dragged out. People were crying and screaming. You can see photos actually of this happening so they could build this stadium, and it's horrifying and harrowing to look at. And a lot of those people were, I don't know, like Hispanic or like Latin. I always get caught up on which terminology means which because I'm stupid, but they were like predominantly Mexican Americans or like Hispanic families. So it was like this really racialized thing too, where you're like, white people with money are coming in, we're taking your land and we're kicking you out. And it's just like the same thing that happens over and over again in the United States.
Yeah. And like, it definitely will worsen the housing crisis here. And like other social like issues, like people say, it'll boost the economy. It won't boost the economy for most people. It mainly will go to real estate speculators and developers. And people are like, oh, well, the 84 Olympics were profitable because it was all done with private money. However, the city legally cannot use any profits for the Olympics for the housing crisis, for social programs, for anything other than youth sports initiatives. They legally cannot use any money. That's all that they are legally allowed to use the money on. And it's most likely going to go over budget. Most games, I was reading, go have average cost overruns of 156%.
Wow.
Yeah. We were talking about public transit before. People will be like, oh, well, it will expand, the subway, it'll expand public transportation. It will only expand public transit for the games.
Right.
Not for people who need it the most. So there will be more public transportation to maybe the stadiums, but are we going, that I feel like the average time you have to walk between bus stations in many places is that going to really increase for people who aren't in the vicinity of the games?
Right. How does it work? Do they just like pop a bunch of stadiums around town and then just like different events are held in each one?
So I'm not quite sure of all the logistics yet. It seems like a lot of places they're going to be used from, the stadiums that we already have in place. I think there's going to be some events even out in Orange County, and as far out as the IE. So that is something that I'm not super familiar with. As far as I can tell, Los Angeles won't have to erect any new stadiums from scratch. But this is also a quote from the Olympics. There will still be massive amounts of construction and renovation on existing structures, and thus a considerable amount of risk for these projects to go over budget.
Got it.
So
okay.
There will be some like renovations and stuff, but they're not gonna build like the Coliseum again.
Right. Okay.
Which is like, so people are like, oh yay, it's not. It's still not very beneficial.
No.
And like, from what I was reading on their website, I think there's this idea most people want the Olympics, where they're like, we cannot prove that most Angelinos want the Olympics here.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody who cares about the Olympics personally.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that there's large contingencies of people like, bring us the Olympics.
Yeah, and
I think most of us literally just want affordable housing. I think that's like what I
think if you ask someone like in LA, like what impacts you the most here, it'd be like, it's housing is exorbitantly expensive.
And there's an artificial housing shortage created by corporate real estate developers.
Yeah, it's like there are definitely enough apartments and housing to go around.
Right.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And, leading up to the tank things, it's going to basically, what will happen during the Olympics here, in terms of like, it will create something called like a national security event. So that is like the Super Bowl, the Republican National Committee, the World Cup. These are typically things that are designated as national security events. Basically what it means is increased FBI presence, increased CIA presence, increased DHS, like
more cops.
So
different types of cops.
ICE immigration raids.
There's
a story about the last Super Bowl, how because it was a designated national security event, that is why 21 Savage was taken into custody.
I don't know anything about 21 Savage.
He was his family technically I think he might technically have dual citizenship in Britain.
Oh, okay.
But he was like, I had everything sorted out. Basically he wouldn't have gotten in any problems if he hadn't have played the Super Bowl.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Also, like Los Angeles, we have, in California in general, but especially in Southern California, we do have a lot of undocumented immigrants here, and ICE is obviously fucked up and horrifying. And also, like, you probably remember this, ICE didn't exist until after 9/11. Yeah, like we didn't grow up in a world with ICE. So to grow up, to be a teenager when ICE hit and really see what that did to communities, especially where I grew up was predominantly Hispanic, specifically Mexican and Mexican American families, like to see what that did to communities was really harrowing.
It's so fucked up, and it seems like the Olympics should be a subject where it's like, oh, the Olympics, but it's like really like harrowing.
Yeah, that is so fucked up. I mean, I'm like right now my mind is just reeling with like what LA would look like with more ICE, because for a while, like a lot of residents had like kind of pressured police and sheriff's department here to like not comply with ICE. Like, and that was a major thing. It's just when a lot of your community has immigrants in it, like when your community is made up of a lot of immigrants, the idea of just alone increased like immigrations and customs enforcement in your town, in your city, a place where up to date you've had some success not letting them completely take over your city, which we've had some. It's not been great, obviously, but just thinking what they would do with unchecked power here.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that's what I keep getting stuck on. And obviously any form of police, but specifically ICE is really scary to me.
Yeah, this is also from Olympics. Quote, "This will put our local law enforcement under the control of federal agencies like the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, which have already shown a tendency to treat members of marginalized communities like criminals. All people within the NSSE zone, possibly all of LA County and Long Beach, could lose a host of constitutional rights, including the right to protest on public land and the right to not be searched or questioned."
Yeah, that is... And also, Los Angeles, like the city proper... Like, I think people have in their heads that LA is just like a bunch of rich white people, but the reality is like, LA is a bunch of working class people of color. That's what LA is. And the rich don't live in LA City. They live in like other cities around LA County, like Calabasas, Santa Monica, West Hollywood, all of which are not Los Angeles City. So do you think about the people who actually live in LA? There's a lot of working class people of color. That's like the backbone of our community. And yeah, all of these police agencies specifically target the poor. They specifically target people of color, and like to give them more power than they already have, which they already have too much power. It's already completely corrupt, completely racist, completely like destroying people's lives here. The idea of them having even more power and just kind of this blanket umbrella under which it falls, it's like, well, it's for the Olympics, is really, really scary.
Yeah. And, you know, besides all of these government agencies coming in, there are other privacy concerns. I was reading an interesting article about the Tokyo Olympics, and it's the quote, "First AI secured Olympics." It has security robots.
Oh. I mean, I'm torn because I like robots, but I hate security.
This is from an article in Deadspin. Quote, "The robot is designed to scan crowds and target individuals who are, quote, jittery or have skin that is too red tinted, as these are supposedly signs that someone is about to commit a terrorist act.
Oh, that won't get racist.
It can also scan faces and cross-reference them with law enforcement databases. These robots will be scattered across Haneda Airport in advance of the Olympics and then deployed widely once the events begin. As cities across the United States move to ban facial recognition, the Tokyo Olympics will push Japan to expand the technology in unprecedented ways. You will not be able to get into an event without handing over a scan of your face."
That is wild.
That seems like Minority Report. Do you remember that movie with Tom Cruise?
I love Minority Report, first of all. Of course, I remember. But yeah, I actually just watched this documentary on Hulu, I think, about AI technology. And obviously, like, we know that AI technology is extremely racist, because what it does is it compounds existing data and uses it to create algorithms to predict future data. But the issue is that because of how racist like all of human history has been, but especially the United States, a lot of the data we have here is super racist data.
Oh, yeah.
So when you compound that and then you put it into algorithms, what it does is it creates like this basis that seems very like unbiased. It's just data. It's just science. But in reality, it's science built off of like psychological tendencies of centuries of people being super racist. So, you know, it ends up creating like this omnipotent God that can't be questioned, and that allows us to do things like over policing or to use like racial profiling and all these really fucked up things, and it just gets compounded into the machine basically. And then we say, oh, it's not really there because the machine has no bias, but it has our bias. They have our bias.
Who creates the machines?
Right. The people writing. Yeah, exactly. And it even goes down into, this would be an interesting like episode on its own, but how like some AI doesn't even recognize people of color's faces as being faces. Like there's this black woman who does a lot of IT science, and she was in this, I wish I could remember the name, but this Hulu documentary, and she was talking about how AI doesn't even work on her and her other black friends' faces, like for face scanning.
Whoa.
She's like, yeah, I had to wear a white mask to make this AI recognize my face was a human face. And she does this whole video presentation of just like this AI that's getting developed, and because she's in tech, she gets to see like prototype stages and everything. So it's this prototype stage, and she's like, yeah, all the white guys were like, works great. And then I tried it, was like, literally it only works on white men. What are you talking about? So she like put on this white mask and looked in the mirror and did it on and off, and you could see, yeah, the AI was like, a black face, no. White mask, yes, I see you, human. Very, very racist. Anyway, sorry, tangent.
Oh, no. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so the Olympics create this basically militarization of public space, the securitization quote of public space. And this kind of segues into the reason why LAPD got the tanks in 1984. The reason that they were able to get the tanks in 84 is because they basically wanted to, quote, clean up the city before the 84 Olympics. So, of course, they use the budget from the Olympic Committee to basically add all these like extra policing things. There's a really good article in the Washington Post about how the Olympic Games helped militarize the LAPD.
Wow.
And many people believe that the Olympics are the direct or indirect cause of the LA riots.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. There is like a really good long article. I like highlighted all of it. And I'm like, I can't quote this whole thing. But basically, this says from the Washington Post article, it's like more than 170 police agencies teamed up to create a crime alert network stretching from Oregon to the Mexican border during the month of the games. The Olympics Major Crime Task Force, made up the LAPD, Los Angeles Sheriff Department, and FBI officers, conducted mass sweeps to rid the Coliseum area of gang members, drug dealers, and homeless residents before the games. Partnering with the Department of Defense, the LAPD hired additional officers at a cost of more than $20 million.
Wow.
So it's just, So basically they are just like...
And like gang members, drug dealers.
That's like not
coded
a thing.
racism.
Yeah, coded racist words.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's wild.
Yeah. So there is another article called Want to Understand the 1992 LA Riots? Start with the 1984 Olympics by David Zirin. So basically the Los Angeles police chief at the time, Daryl Gates, basically was like quoted, this is like at the he basically could rise to power because the Olympics provided a cover for this expanded police force.
Right.
And basically he's just like, our strategy is to harass people.
Sounds about right.
It said from 1984 to 89, there was a 33% spike in citizen complaints against police brutality. The complaints went nowhere. According to a Los Angeles Times investigative report, the district attorney's office chose not to prosecute, quote, the vast majority of complaints. Between 1986 and 1990, 1,400 officers were investigated on suspicion of using excessive force. Less than 1% were prosecuted.
Wow.
Yeah. So they basically were able to get more budget because of the Olympic game. From that Washington Post article, it notes, the LAPD used its federally allocated Olympic budget to buy an arsenal of machine guns, infrared enhanced viewing devices, and a radio system for its SWAT teams. The department also deployed spatially targeted policing operations for Olympic security in 1984.
Wow. So basically, they were like, okay, the Olympics are coming to town, so we have this whole new purview under which we can do really fucked up things, and we have more money to do it with.
Exactly.
And anybody who's like, this doesn't look great, they're like, shh, it's for the Olympics.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like very common in that introduction to that book I was talking about, the Power Games, the history of the Olympics. In the foreword of that, David Zinn notes, he's a sports writer. And he's like, as a sports writer who has covered every Olympics and World Cups over the past 2 decades, I've learned that every mega event contains debt, displacement, the militarization of public space, and varying degrees of resistance. And that's where I got the idea. I was like, wow, the militarization of public space. Is just so, yeah.
And anything people can use as an excuse to do that, they will. We see that all the time. And yeah, the Olympics seems like a pretty good excuse. And it brings money. So you get money and the excuse. You get them both. It's like a combo effect.
Yeah. So yeah, Olympics, very, very heavy subject that I thought would be like, once I looked into that, I was like, wow, I thought they were bad, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
But, one last question.
Yes.
what do you think an alternative should be out there for people who actually like the sports ball games?
Okay, so I don't know what people who like sports should do, because when I met my partner, for example, he really likes sports, and I was like, what? Why do you like this? It's just simulated warfare activity. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, look, it's people from different places, and they battle each other to see who has the most physical strength. And they're like, we good, people from other places bad. And it just increases like xenophobia, you know, and like that nationalism thing. Like if you extend it, even like within the United States, when we see like NFL games and it's like LA versus, I don't know, any other city, right? You're just like, we hate the other city, LA better. Yeah, so the Olympics doing that like at a national level where you're like, our country better, your country the worst. You're like, whoa, wow, that sounds like it could get into racism real fast and xenophobia and fear of the immigrant, haha. So, yeah, I really don't know. Even like the only sport I kind of like is hockey. And I went to a hockey game like before COVID, and we were playing, it was like LA, the Kings versus a Canadian like team. And I found myself slipping way too easily into hating the Canadians. Like, I was like yelling. I was like, go back to Canada, you know? And I'm like, I don't even hate Canada. Like, I have Canadian friends, you know? So, but no, very, very quickly, I'm like, these smug Canadian fucks, you know? Like, so I see it even in myself. You get very like, we good, they bad. And it creases all these like we, they mentalities that already tear society apart. I don't know. I am not a sports person. I don't think sports bring anything good into society. And even after I explained all this to my partner, the next time he watched football, he was like, oh, I get it. It's like hyper aggressive. It's hyper masculine. You know, it is very ableist, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, plus we're literally yelling shit like, kill him, destroy him. I'm like, yeah, it's simulated warfare. It's simulated warfare activity. That's like what organized sports are. But I know that there are like other types of sports that aren't that aggressive, that don't have all of the USA marketing and branding that goes along with them, that makes them hyper nationalistic and patriotic. Like the Cool Runnings luge, that wasn't hurting anybody, right? You're just, yeah, that's a fun slide. So there has to be something, but I would think that the way to combat it would be, like, first of all, the teams can't be regionally based. Like, to get rid of the regional basis for it, that gets rid of the weird, like, nationalism, we, they mentality that it breeds. I guess, like, second of all, maybe rather than doing like these big events in like big cities, like decentralize it. So you have like events and they're televised or whatever, but they're all around the world in like small places, and it's just like one small game here or there. So it would be the equivalent of stadiums already hosting sports events, right? This one just happens to get like designated as, I guess, and if you're going to still call it the Olympics, like an Olympic game or whatever. To bring in also, less physical things, more like artistic, like you were talking about. Like, I would watch Architecture Olympics. Like, let's bring in more types of events that aren't built solely on physical prowess.
For some reason, I'm thinking of Jenga.
Yeah, bring in. That's what
I think of the Architecture Olympics.
Yes, Olympics Jenga. I'm on board. Let's make it lighter. Let's showcase different types of abilities. And the thing I always get hung up on with competitive sports already, like as they exist, is you kind of talked about this where you're like, oh, it's like a bunch of rich people doing this. I think about this with things like football or like basketball. You have all these like rich white men who own these companies, and then the players are usually predominantly people of color, right? So what you have is these like white men owning people of color, controlling their lives, controlling their movements, because there are certain things they can and can't do even in their personal lives that will like make the team look bad, controlling their livelihoods, and it's just this really fucked up power dynamic. So you would have to like, it would have to all be publicly funded and publicly owned. Right? You couldn't have these rich people in charge of the Olympics, owning everything, investing everything. It couldn't be profitable for them. You know, you would have to like remove that power structure and just like decentralize everything and do like a horizontal organization. But like, you have to destroy capitalism for that to be feasible.
I was just going to say, it's like Scooby-Doo, where at the end you pull off the mask and it's always capitalism.
It's always capitalism and eugenics. Yes. It's always capitalism and eugenics because they go hand in hand.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're like, if you are weak, you work until you die and we do not care and we replace you. And if you are strong, we find a way to exploit your strength and further maximize profit off of your strength.
Yeah.
For us.
And I just feel like it's so weird that we have this mindset that competitive sports is good and it creates care. It's like, well, there are other things that do that. Or like, is competition really the basis of a good society, or is it cooperation? And I know that it kind of goes, I am not a smart enough person to understand all the nuances of that. I just feel like the type of competition that we, is elated or, in the Olympics is really toxic.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that can bleed into personal interactions. Like we could go so deep into like hierarchy, top-down approach, like how, that kind of control rather than, it says it promotes teamwork, but I don't know about that. To me, it's like teamwork is teamwork. Everybody works together.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely, as a person myself, I can get really competitive, and that's like a thing as I've become an adult that I've really had to like work on in myself. And I don't view that competitiveness, I don't view that as an asset. In my personal life, every time that has come up, it's been a hindrance, it's been a sign of emotional immaturity, it's been a really bad thing in me. So if we look at like people in an individual level, and you're talking about like what qualities do we want to put forward and like exalt and be like, these are the good qualities that people should have, like competitiveness, like competition, a good spirit of competition, that's never something that would really enter my mind. And I think it's based off this idea that like, how do you know if you're like the best you can be unless somebody challenges you?
Yeah, that's what okay, you know how they say, well, it's like, oh, the free market, or like, if you compete, you create more, like better stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like I feel like I saw a meme that's like, yeah, but now we just have 20 different kinds of mustard and still only 2 cable companies. Like,
yeah,
does it really breed creativity? Does competition really like breed that? I'm so curious.
I think it breeds creative ways to maximize profit. And that's what you have to think about. It doesn't actually breed creativity. It doesn't actually breed innovation. It breeds innovative ways to make money, which is not the same as innovation. And the thing I think about a lot is like at our work, right? Like we do original clothing designs at our work, right? And it takes effort to develop them. We'll work on pieces for a long time. We'll get samples in. We'll be like, oh, this doesn't work. Go back to the drawing board. It takes a lot of energy on our part. And then let's say, we finally get like the finished product in and we're like, wow, it looks good. And then I go outside and I take a picture of it. And it took me years to learn exactly the right way to showcase garments in photos. And I post this photo, and this whole process takes hours and hours and hours of work. And then I put my picture online of my garment, and what happens is instantly, like within a week, there's all of these people on AliExpress, it's like a website. It's a marketplace website, but a lot of people use it to sell just like shitty knockoffs. And it's not the marketplace's fault, right? But it is where a lot of shitty knockoffs like thrive and grow. So within a week, if you go on AliExpress, you'll see not like a few, not like 100, like thousands of people using my photo of me and my garment to sell shitty knockoffs of that garment. And look, one, it's a scam, right? Because I'm like, I haven't even seen the garment you've made. You're going to try to copy my garment. Who knows how well you'll do, right? You're using my photo of the original. But 2, you're like, well, it's innovative. You've innovated a new way to make profit because you have cut out all the work I did. You want to sell a garment. Look, this way, you don't need to spend the time and energy designing the product. You don't need to fit the product. You don't need to go back to the drawing board and reconstruct the product. You don't need to make the tech pack. The garment comes in. You don't need to perfect the photo. You don't need to style it. You don't need to do any of that. You have skipped all of that by just taking my work and going, yeah, we can make that too. And you look at it and you're like, okay, you've innovated a new way to make profit, but you haven't actually innovated anything. You haven't given society anything new, anything interesting, anything of value whatsoever. So when we think about like how like, competition, it creates something, but like that something always exists under a system of capitalism. So capitalism rewards profit. Everything at the end of the day is going to circle down to, in a system of capitalism, competition innovates new ways to create profit.
Yeah, and to me it's like what they're saying, like instead of, innovate, for competition in a sports way, instead of like, I appreciate the moment of the game. It's an art. I'm in the moment. I like doing this thing that I'm doing. it's not about that. It's about winning. You know what I mean? And I know it's like, you know, sometimes it's fun to play a darts game or, you know, whatever like that. But sometimes I feel like it's more insidious than we think. And I don't want to be like, everything you do that involves, you know, keeping score in a game. You can't play Scrabble anymore.
Take my Scrabble from me.
Because you'll hurt someone, you know. But it's like, but I think it's like just something to look about. Whether it's like, is competition really that helpful? Or is it really you being in the moment or trying to, you know, produce a product of your time of existence, if that makes any sense?
No, it does make sense, because what you're saying is like when everything is super results oriented and the results you need is like to beat somebody else, like you remove the artistry from it. And a lot of times also, especially in sports, it encourages people to push their bodies beyond reasonable limits for their health and well-being. Mm-hmm. And another thing I think about, I know this isn't Olympics, but it ties in, I think, is like football. Like how we're like, you have to win no matter what. And now you have all of these really young men getting concussions, getting traumatic brain injuries. And we're like, it doesn't matter. All that matters is you win. You throw yourself at the big guy. Who cares if you fall down and go boom? Like, and this is just like so built into the culture, because winning, nothing matters unless you win. Like winning is everything. And yeah, you see, like we really compromise like our own well-being in the long run. And then you're like, is this really like, okay, so what's it supposed to be like for love of the game? Like, are you really playing the game? And then you see people like also use like performance enhancing drugs or whatever. And I saw this one guy tweet once. He was like, I want an Olympics where everyone's on performance enhancing drugs. Like, fuck it. Let's see how high a man can jump.
I love that. And, you know, I was thinking about, because I think people really do like sports because of teamwork. I think they legitimately love, you know, working towards a common goal. And I wish, and you know what, I think it actually, I think working towards a common goal with people is great if it's a good goal. But I think maybe we should think about, instead of just like a goal, winning, it's like, well, what about doing stuff for just, I don't know, people in general? Like maybe using that team sports mentality of like character building to move towards something else that can help society as a whole, whether it's like, I don't know, like figuring out ways to like, I don't know, better society. Like,
no, I like that because the thing is like, the product has to be useful. The end result has to be useful, you know? And that's what we see like with capitalism, where people are like, capitalism breeds innovation because of healthy competition. You're like, well, that only is true if the things we get at the end are useful, not 100 different versions of the exact same toothpaste that I don't care about, right? Yeah. And that's the same thing with sports. It's like, okay, the teamwork is inspiring, but only if the thing they're working towards is useful. And right now, what we do, we have these structures of teamwork, and the goal that they're working towards is not actually useful for anybody. How does it help us if somebody plays a better game of football? It doesn't. But what if instead you were like, oh, like we have like competitive like housing, like we're building housing, we're using all of that team energy to like do things that actually do have like a positive impact on the community.
And I don't think people shouldn't have fun. Like I think people can have fun. You can have fun however you want.
Right.
I am not judging how people want to have fun.
But the military doesn't need to support it while you do it.
Exactly.
We don't need an increased military presence for you to have fun.
Yeah. And it's like, I also think that people think that if you're doing something, you know, dry, like helping someone find how, it can't be fun or fulfilling. Like it's just, it's like drudgery. And it's like, no, I don't know why we have this idea that sports are fun, like, but helping people, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know who says that. In my mind, people think that, but I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like that's maybe like a common. I think so. Basically, what we need like Olympic World Challenge. Hey, major cities in the world, here's a challenge. Who can build the most affordable fucking housing?
Ooh.
Go. Let's bring out your strongest builders. Bring out your best architects. This is where it all comes in, right? Contest. Who can house the most unhoused people? I feel like that would be a good way to segue the Olympics into something that actually served communities.
Right?
I like that idea. Competitive house building for your neighborhoods. The opposite of displacement. Yes. We're in-placing people. Okay, so we do have a question we're going to answer from our Patreon. And for those of you who don't know, if you pay $2 a month on our Patreon, you can sign up to receive a link where you can record a message for us and we will answer them. And we did do one Patreon only bonus episode where we answered a few questions, but we're going to answer one right here too, right now for everyone. So we're going to go to the messages. I'm going to play one and yeah, let's see what we got.
Hi, Kenna. Hi, Madeline. This question's probably more for Kenna because I'm from Portland and I know you lived there for a period of time. I'm really into like the local Portland punk scene, and I don't know if you were ever involved in any local music scenes, but if you have like a local band that you would like to recommend, that would be great. Or if not, I would just love to hear some of your stories or experiences from living in Portland. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you for thinking of me and time in Portland. I feel bad because I have not been there in a while, so I am really out of sorts with the scene in Portland. But I did enjoy living there for like, oh my gosh, the vegan food is amazing there. Like, oh, the food is really good. It's beautiful. Like, the nature's amazing. If you're someone who likes like rain, that place is for you.
It's not for me.
It's so hard describing a music scene, especially I've been kind of out of the loop playing music for a while due to some personal reasons, but yeah, honestly, I think in the last ep we talked about like being in bands, joining bands, and I always recommend just go out there and do it. Don't be afraid. Just like go to shows, even if they seem weird. Go to shows by yourself. Don't be afraid to do that, because I've done that before. You can don't be afraid to do that. I think so many people are afraid to like go out and see music by themselves, and sometimes it sucks and you're just like, everybody around here is annoying to me, but sometimes it's like really magical because you can just really get into like listening to music without like the distraction of like having to hang out.
That's true. Yeah, I really like Portland for music too. Like for 10 years off and on, I had like a boyfriend who grew up in Portland, so that was like his hometown. So we would go back to Portland a lot, and he played music. He was a musician, so we would go to a lot of shows when we would go back. But of course, this was like years ago. This was like 7 years ago or whatever. So definitely, also I'm out of touch with that. But I remember it was always really fun. I liked that in Portland, uniquely, if you serve alcohol, you have to serve food. Is my understanding?
That is the law.
So you could go to a show, and if it was in a bar or a more formal venue and not super DIY, you could always order food at the shows.
Oh, I love that. So many places in Portland, you can get food at midnight.
Yeah.
Like in LA, I'm like, does every restaurant close at 10 o'clock?
They do. No, seriously. I love that about Portland, though. So it'd be like, okay, your friend's band's playing at this like shitty bar, right? So you go to the shitty bar and you get a drink, and then I'm like, fuck it, they got noodle bowls here? I'm gonna get a noodle bowl. And then also like in the same venue, because there's a lot of like dancing. There's a lot of dancers, like exotic dancers stripping. So you'd be like, oh cool, like your friend's like stripping too. It's just like very like everything happening in one place in the venue.
It's really fun. And this was like, so I moved to Portland, I think in like 2007, 8. So this was kind of like a lot of people were like, oh, it's the halcyon days of Portland, but I'm just like, whatever, rent was cheaper.
That's when I was going to Portland a lot too, actually.
Yeah.
At the same time, yeah.
The thing I liked about it when I was like going out a bunch is because I would go to all different shows. I would go to DIY shows, I'd go to metal shows, I'd go to techno shows, I'd go to shows with like rock bands.
Yeah.
Like I've always been someone who bounces around scenes for better or for worse. Like when I lived in Denver, for a long time, I would go to shows at the local like DIY warehouse. But then I also lived next door to a grindcore warehouse, and I'd go to shows there.
That's where you were grindcore princess.
Yeah, I remember wearing a tube top at like a metal show, and someone called me princess, and I was like, what?
I love that though. I love, yeah, you were a grindcore princess.
But I don't know. I always think that people should just expand like their horizons and just be curious about like what's out there, because it's so easy to just get lumped into a scene where you go see the same shows all the time, you see the same people, and not that it's not good to like build relationships
and
with
community.
people. Yeah,
the community's nice.
Yeah, and I feel like one thing that I wish that I would have been better about is going to more different things and not being snobby about certain things, or snobby about my own project, being like, this is good, instead of just being like, I'm having fun. This is an expression that I need to do. Like going back to the competition thing we were talking about, like, I don't know, like I loved my time in Portland, and I think they're just in like every place, there's like amazing people, and yeah, Portland rocks.
Yeah, my boyfriend who had grown up there, who played music a lot, he was more, his heyday was the 90s. So in the 90s in Portland, the biggest band was the Dandies.
Oh, I remember.
The Dandy Warhols were the biggest band. So I remember him being like, yeah, I tried to like cut class in high school because my band played with the Dandies, so they were like my friends, and they needed people to be in their music video, and I was like, I'm gonna go be in this music video and cut class. And then I showed up to the video, and they were like, wait, are you only 16? Because everyone's naked in this video. And he was all bummed because he had to go home. So that couldn't be in the Dandies video, dang.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I feel like that's like definitely like the scene that I think of and associate with Portland, which is like the weird, like almost shoegaze, like 60s jangly revival.
Yeah.
How would you even define the Dandies? What genre is that?
I never listened to them.
It's like rock and roll revival.
Yeah,
I think.
it's like
60s,
60s, 70s, like inspired by like Brian Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I think, wasn't there like their musical rival, the Brian Jonestown?
Yeah.
Brian, what was the band?
Brian Jonestown Massacre?
Yes.
Yeah. That was their musical rival, and that was like, but that's the scene that like my boyfriend was a part of. So when I'd go back and be like the rocker scene, you know, to hang out.
It's so funny. I've seen, that was so much fun going to so many different types of shows. But I'll also say, like, anywhere you live, no matter where it's like Portland or whatever, you can find, I feel like you can find a cool scene even if it's one other person. Like, I lived in a very small town and there was a music scene. Like, I lived in a town of less than 20,000 people, and I at one point when I was 16 definitely had like a shitty noise band.
Yeah, that's so cool though. That's like the sickest part. I mean, Portland's really big though too. Like Portland's
It's pretty big.
And it's growing, right?
I think it's like 500,000 people.
Yeah, well, okay, so because I grew up in Fresno, there was this point where everybody in Fresno left to go move to Portland. So
same in Denver.
Yeah, so if you like go to Portland now, you're like, there's all Fresno. Like if you go back to Fresno, you won't see anybody my age who like grew up there. They all literally live in Portland.
I feel like there was a time in between 2005 to 2010 where like every person our age group at one point moved to Portland.
Yeah, it was very much like a thing, and I was even like, should I move to Portland? And I didn't. I did move to Portland. But yeah, no, I do remember though, like a lot of my friends who played music like moved up there, and yeah, I actually don't know if anything like punk happening in Portland though. Like I've never experienced punk in Portland. Just like rock and roll, indie kind of shoegazy, like DIY even stuff, like DIY like acoustic guitar kind of stuff even, but like not, I've never experienced anything punk. Have you ever been to a punk show in Portland?
Like kind of like more like noise.
Noise,
and
yeah.
I definitely have gone to shows where it was like more like grind or metal, and like there were crusty punks there, but I never went to like a crusty punk show.
Oh wait, I have a question for you, Kenna. Since you're my age, did you guys ever call people oogles growing up?
No, I don't know what that is.
No, okay. Oh wait, okay. Thank you.
Is it what we call crusty punk?
Yes, crusty punks. Yes. Okay, I learned this on the internet. This is a random tangent, but I made this video where I was like, here's what all the different subcultures look like to me. I posted it on TikTok, and everybody, like even like 2 years younger than us, was like, those aren't crust punks, those are oogles. And I was like, what the fuck is this word? I've never heard of this. So then I started asking all my friends my age who were involved in punk scenes. Like I asked my friend David, who's really cool. He and I like grew up together in Fresno, and he was part of like the Olympia punk scene, which is right next to like Portland. And he's the kind of guy who only has one tattoo, but it's a crass stick and poke. You know?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, David, do you know what an oogle is? And he's like, the fuck is that? So this is a thing in our age.
Oh, so it's like if I said preppy to someone younger than me, they'd be like, what the hell is that?
A little weirder though, I think, because oogle, you never hear that word. Like I didn't hear that word. And so now what we used to call crust punks, they're just like, that's regular punk. That's just punk. And I'm like, but it's very interesting. Like it's a random age thing.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, there were definitely different subgenres of punk, but only for me knowing in Denver.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I thought, we had a guy, like we called him like Crusty Travis, like Crust Punk Travis, aka Dirty Travis. All of these would work. And he was like the crust dude in our town. But yeah, if you were to look at like what kids today call oogles, I'm like, oh, they're like the train hoppy kids. The train hoppy punks were crust punks.
Okay, so people that I knew who did hop trains, like they were in a lot of, they were kind of crust punks, but they also liked other stuff. So I never,
Yeah, weird. It's weird. It's interesting. That's a random tangent, but
yeah,
I was just excited to use my new word that I learned from people slightly younger than me on the internet. If you too would like to leave us a voicemail, you can find us on Patreon. Patreon.com/pickmeupimscared. It is $2 a month, but also you do not need to subscribe. You do not need to give us your $2. That is your $2. You can keep that $2. We'll still be here, whether you give us $2 or not. Thanks so much. Have a good one.